Today's show is going to feel a bit different than most because I'm going to be talking about listening to music in the most neutral or accurate way to hear exactly what's in the recording. Well, or as close as we can get to what's really in the recording, whether it's on LP or digital, whatever. How do we get access to that? And the answer is, spoiler alert, the answer is headphones. Yes, and I know, a lot of you guys are not into listening on headphones, but just give me a few minutes to explain my case as to why that is the way forward. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who really believe in, using, to try to eliminate their room from the equation by using room treatment and DSP or a combination of the two to absolutely minimize the effect of the room on the sound coming out of your speakers. And it's an admirable goal, no doubt about it. I just don't think it actually works all that well. And believe me, I've heard people try. For a long time now, I've heard various attempts at doing that. But in the end, the dimensions of the room and the construction of the room are going to play a major role in the sound you hear in that room. I mean, after all, if you have a room where you're sitting with your head near the wall or up against the wall, that's a huge reflector right behind your head. If your speakers are 2 feet away from the side walls or up against the wall behind them, those are making gigantic changes in the sound of the music that's coming out of your speakers. There's no denying that. Now with headphones, the headphone's superpower is eliminating the room. There is no room when you're listening over headphones. I know the sound is inside your head and not in front of you. I get it. But in terms of hearing what's in the recording without the effect of the room, it's a very direct solution to the problem. That's the main point of today's show. Now the thing is, headphones have a couple of other advantages over speakers. A, they don't usually have crossover networks the way almost all speakers do. There's no resistors or inductors or capacitors between the output of the amplifier and the headphone diaphragm. So the amplifier is in greater control over the movements of the diaphragm. Oh, and of course, there will be an audiophiliac viewer system of the day later on in the show. Another big advantage of headphones over speakers is that there's a reduction of the background noise of your room, right? So the noise of your air conditioner or fan or the refrigerator or the sound coming through the window, all of that is reduced when you're listening over headphones compared to speakers, which means that you can hear the quieter parts of the music, the quieter parts of the mix more clearly compared to when you were listening over speakers, because when you're listening over speakers, some of that quiet information is being masked by that background sound. Air conditioning, refrigerator, all that stuff doesn't play as much of a role when you're listening over headphones. So another aspect of this story is that when you're listening over headphones, you're hearing the direct sound of the recording. When you're listening over speakers, you're hearing the sound directly from your speakers, plus the sound of your room, the reflections in your room, the echo, reverberation, the resonance of your room are now added to the sound coming out of your speakers, which you might call, or I might call, a distortion of the sound of the recording itself that isn't present when you're listening over headphones. That is huge. Now, I have to stop for a second, is that I personally am not obsessed with accuracy or neutrality. That's not really what I'm looking for when I'm playing music. I just want to enjoy music in that sense, right? But for people who really want to hear the recording itself in the most neutral, accurate way, eliminating the room far more than you can eliminate the room with room treatment or DSP, totally eliminating the room by listening over headphones is the way to go. Now, I'm not suggesting, please understand, I'm not suggesting that you throw away your speakers or put them out by the curb. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's another way to listen to music. And if you love a particular recording and you really want to like dive in deep to the sound of that, putting on a pair of really good headphones, and I'm going to talk about some of my favorites, is definitely an option. We'll call it Plan B, right? Let's take a little side trip for just a second to talk about near field listening over speakers. If you have a set of, let's say, stand mount speakers, and you get really close to them, let's say 3 feet away, equidistant from the left and right speaker, and you're listening that close, what you get is a much higher percentage of direct sound from the speaker relative to the sound of the room itself, the reflections or reverberation of the room itself. Almost like getting closer to the sound of headphones, because you're hearing that higher percentage of direct sound from your speakers. Another way to do it is also to use speakers to get this higher percentage of direct sound, is to use directional speakers, as in horn speakers that are projecting the sound directly towards you and not spraying it all over the floor and the ceiling and just to the sidewalls. It's a more directional approach towards filling a sound with room. So Klipsch and Avant-Garde and JBL and all that, you know, there's not that many choices in the horn speaker universe, but using horn speakers will help a bit in getting more of that direct sound and less room-filling, reverberant sound. So there's different ways of putting sound in a room with different kinds of speakers and near-field listening or even mid-field listening. The closer you get to the speaker, the more direct sound you're going to get. But nothing will equal the sound over headphones in terms of hearing just the recording. Now, I know that a lot of people who don't like listening over headphones will say that the sound feels trapped inside their head. And I understand why you would say that. First of all, because it is kind of an unnatural way to listen to anything, listen to music, because we walk around life hearing music coming to us from all different directions. When suddenly the sound is inside our head, that's like, the default is no, that's not good. And I get it. But the thing is, once you accept it and you relax and just listen to music over a good set of headphones, I'll tell you my favorites in just a second, you start to notice that it isn't really inside your head, it's more like around your head. It's like a dome over your head, depending on the recording itself. And that's kind of cool. Like you're hearing the music from the microphone's perspective. You're hearing more direct sound, so to speak, from the microphone itself that was used at the session, which has now gone through all of the stages of making a record and through your system, and it comes out, and now it's inside your head. And I love that. I love that as a concept, that what I'm hearing is more of what the microphones heard and less of my room adding its own colorations. And yes, distortion to the sound. Distortion is that it's changing the signal to this other sound, which is the sound of the room itself. So it's all part of the way we think about this, how we approach listening to music. If you're just listening for pleasure and you're not so much of an anal audiophile, you just take what you get and you enjoy it and that's it. But if you're kind of a very analytical person and the sound of the room is something that bugs you and you want to reduce it or eliminate it by using room treatment and or DSP, sure, do it. And if it works for you, that's fantastic. But I'm putting to you that it'll never, ever, ever get close to not having the room at all. Some of you might have noticed that I haven't been reviewing headphones over the last couple of years. I don't know, that ship has sailed for me, but I like listening to headphones, especially when I really want to hear a recording, you know, as close up as possible. And that's what I use headphones for. And I have a couple of favorites, and here they are. The first one, because it's the one that I've had the longest, is the Grado RS1. I just love that headphone. It's very comfortable sounding to me. It's very immediate. It's almost like Grado headphones in general are kind of the equivalent of listening to horn speakers. They have that kind of immediacy and live quality that I like so much. And the RS1 is a bit more mellow than a lot of more contemporary Grados, but anyway, it just does something for me that I really, really love. And the next up on the list, it's a very short list by the way, is the Audeze LCD3. Now, the company started, my relationship with Audeze started with the LCD2, which I still have one and I love it, but there's something about the LCD3. I mean, the Audeze sound is very masculine, very powerful sounding, very dynamic and alive, and just got some real juice to it. Absolutely. I love that headphone for that. But I think the best sounding headphone in my collection is the weirdest looking one. It's the Abyss AB1266. This model is the Pi version of it. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, this headphone looks weird, but I gotta say, you don't have to have the ear pads compress into your ears. So the ear pads are floating in front of your ears. So you don't have that pressure, and it doesn't feel as headphone-like to listen to them because you don't sense that pressure. And I can't say the sound is in front of you, but it is very spacious and open sounding and very, very powerful. It is another very masculine, very powerful sounding headphone. And I absolutely love it for that. And the high frequencies and detail and clarity are off the charts. Just amazing, amazing headphone. So as for headphone amplifiers, the one I'm using right now is the LTA, the Linear Tube Audio Microzodal Preamplifier, which is also a regular preamplifier. But it has an amazing headphone amplifier section, and I've been using the Grado and the Audeze and the Abyss headphones and many others with the LTA. And I will be doing a review of the LTA microzodal preamplifier in the future, in the near future. But anyway, that's coming up. But anyway, I love listening over headphones, and when you listen over headphones, you just hear this detail, especially in the bass. Now, it's not as visceral, it's not as impactful over headphones as it is over speakers. But what you do get is the clarity of the bass. Like you thought the bass in that recording was kind of muddy or thick. Put it on headphones and then you will have some idea of what really is going on in the recording that's obscured by your room. Room treatment or DSP notwithstanding, you will really hear the sound of the bass balance and clarity in the bass with headphones that you will never get over speakers. Now, of course, a good set of speakers definitely has advantages over headphones. First, in dynamics. You just feel dynamics and power in ways over speakers that you will never get over headphones. Even the very best headphones will be lacking in that regard. And the way speakers image and just opens up a space, a wall of sound in front of you, ideally, that doesn't happen with headphones. It's true. But the gains in headphones in terms of clarity and hearing into the mix and hearing the really quiet parts of the mix, that can tilt the balance for some listeners. So I'm not saying it's headphones have it all over speakers. Not at all. I'm not giving up on speakers, not by a long shot. And honestly, of course, most of my listening is over speakers. But the subject of today's show was hearing recordings in the most neutral / accurate way. And that's what headphones do so, so well. And with that kind of clarity comes the moment of truth for the audiophiliac viewer system of the day. This system is in Los Angeles. It is Steve's system. He has Wilson Sasha 2 speakers, very impressive, matched with 2 JL Audio F110 Fathom subwoofers. Streamers, there's a Hi-Fi Rose RS250 and an Arender N100. The DAC is a Bryston BDA3. Turntable, yeah, that's a VPI Prime. The cartridge is an Ortofon Cadenza Bronze preamp, D'Agostino Momentum, Phono preamp, Alnic H1201, and the crossover is a JL CR1. Then there's a home theater system in the closet, in the rack system in the closet, which includes an Integra DRX 3.4, an Oppo UDP203 disc player. The server is Synology DS200 Plus. Room core is installed in an Intel NUC 8. The stereo amplifier is a D'Agostino S200. And then going for classic here, vintage, is a Krell CD player, Krell MD2. Thanks, Steve. Okay, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, please consider contributing to my Patreon. To do so, super easy to do. The address is on the screen right now. Check out the page, see what you think, and I would appreciate your support. If you just like a given episode, like this one, and since you've gotten this far in this one, I assume you liked it, so please hit the like button. And also, if you have yet to subscribe to the Audiophiliac, please do so right now. And when you do subscribe, remember to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time there is a new episode, which is generally twice a week. And with that, I can say my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching. And I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.